Otto von Bismarck lived from 1815 to 1898. He was an aristocrat, a statesman, Prime Minister of Prussia, and later First Chancellor of Germany. He is often credited with the phrase, "Laws are like sausages. It is better not to see them being made." Spoiler alert, you're about to see the sausage. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. About a month ago, I had George Smith on the air. He's an advocate for Maine sportsmen, a travel writer, a blogger, and an occasional pain in the patootie to everyone around him. Sometimes I help him be that pain. So it is with the bill in this year's legislature, LD 668. He wrote it, I sponsored it. When we talked about this bill a month ago, we listed a whole bunch of things wrong with the bill. Today, we find out if the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee caught on, which they probably did since some of them listened to the show. Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine is brought to you by Hammond Lumber, Dysarts, EBS, Doors Equipment, and Napa Auto Parts. Now, before we take you into the actual hearing room and bring you right up close to what actually happened, let's review. Here are some excerpts from a show that aired on the weekend of April 11th. You might remember when I said to George, so my exercise for this particular radio show is to beat this bill to crap. Mm-hmm. I want to show how a committee might actually treat a bill when it shows up, when they really go to work on it. So,
you're sure that this is not too ugly for the public, Bob?
Honest to God, we're going to beat up this bill until it bleeds from every orifice.
Oh, man.
We're going to whack it like a
ugly.
piñata.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot here to hate.
Yes. Yes, and they will.
And they will. So we're going to hate it in public right now and really work through the nuances.
All right.
Because when I present this bill to the IFNW committee, I'm going to have to defend it.
Yes.
And it's your work.
Yes.
So I'm going to have to cover my butt.
I will be right behind you clapping and cheering.
I'm going to defer all the hard questions to you.
Oh, yeah.
LD 668 would establish a marketing program at Inland Fisheries and Wildlife and put a marketing person in charge of it. First, it's a good idea. So good, we used to have such a program. George.
They did have one. They had a good one. They had an excellent guy. Bill Pierce ran it. He went all over the country promoting hunting and fishing, attracting new customers, because these are the customers of this department. Mm-hmm. And they had about a $150,000 budget, and they did great work. When Bill left, they abolished his job and eliminated the budget. And they've really done no marketing since.
And we kind of see the results of that a little bit. They have had people in there who have been press liaisons who do some of the coordinating for the department, but really the capacity disappeared.
And over time, the hunting and fishing industry has tried to grab part of the existing tourism budget, which is about $9 million, and direct it their way. But you're competing against inns and restaurants and well-organized industries. And as I tell them, they do a lot of research to decide where to spend this $9 million, and our industries are in decline. Mm-hmm. Hunting and fishing is in decline. Tourism is looking for the industries that are growing, the reasons people want to come to Maine. That's what they're advertising. So it's kind of self-perpetuating. No advertising, no marketing. We continue to go downhill, less people hunting and fishing, and the industry's in real trouble.
Second, it's all about the Franklins. We used to invest in this part of our natural resources economy. Now, we don't. In fact, Mainers had to pass a constitutional amendment to stop the hunting and fishing license fees from being raided. There's a law in the books that requires the legislature to fund 18% of the department budget from the general fund. But that gets cut in every budget because we just don't have the money. So according to George, it's up to the department to do something with hunting and fishing money because that's the only pot of money we can grow and pay for this investment. It's the department's job. George?
Well, because these are their customers. Mm-hmm. And if nothing else, they should be concerned that they're losing customers.
Well, they're the state's customers. I mean,
yes, but you have to buy something from Fish and Wildlife before you can even get started
well, there is
hunting
that.
And fishing.
Okay.
So we like to think, 10 years ago we had a national study which said a lot of the states are really getting good at this, at marketing, at understanding these are their customers, at practicing good customer relationships from top to bottom of an agency. We're way behind on all of this.
But back to the question, where does the money come from?
Well, I'd start out with their $3 million surplus. They've got money.
Yeah.
They've got money to put into this. And in my mind, it's beyond unacceptable that they haven't done it, that they abolished this and have not been doing it.
When I have to get up and defend this bill and they ask me where's the money coming from, I'll say you've already got it.
Yes.
Oh, boy, they're going to crucify me.
Yeah.
And then, whenever we talk department money, George always mentions that the warden service eats up more of today's budget, even though hunting and fishing are in decline.
In my mind, that means the wardens do less police work. We need less wardens, consequently. That money gets shifted over to this other work.
Yeah, when we've had this discussion in the past, you've pointed out that the warden service really has taken on a lot more missions than it once had.
Tremendous.
And that is why it's eating up the budget. And that's snowmobile safety and search and rescue.
Well, watch Northwood's Law.
Yeah.
2/3 of their work is police work.
Yeah.
They're out there looking for marijuana patches and doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
Looking for criminals and, that
Well,
held up a store and,
maybe we can take some burden off them if we just arm the forest rangers.
That's what we need. More police in the woods, Bob.
But boy, this show's going downhill fast.
Oh.
And then there's the problem that we go through all this trouble to attract tourists to our great natural resources, but don't actually get much of the pie to help pay for it. And when you come right down to it, we're not always so sure we like tourists.
Do you remember the year when the Tourism Commission actually advertised trying to get us to be nicer to tourists?
Yes, I do.
Yes, yes.
Wouldn't it just be a lot better for our economy if those people from away mailed us the money and never showed up?
Oh, well, that was my plan, to stop them in Kittery. And how much do you plan to spend?
Yeah.
Just leave it right here at home.
Shake them down and then turn them around.
Yeah, yeah.
By now, you understand that looking for money and expecting results scares people. You know that this bill has deeply worried the Maine Office of Tourism, because we have met with them.
We've met with them.
And the Maine Tourism Association was there because they're worried.
And the innkeepers and the restaurants were there.
Yeah, they're all worried. Anytime you make a department do something that goes to mess around in somebody else's stuff, everybody gets worried.
Yes.
And so...
Well, and I will say this for them. The dollars they get are terribly insufficient as well.
Yes.
Now, they do a really good job. They're well organized. They work together fairly well. So they're way ahead of us at hunt and fish and bird watch and that kind of thing. But still, we have something to learn from them. And I think once we reassured them, we're not looking for their money. We're going to take our own money and do this.
Yeah.
That was a big help. And I'm really hoping they'll come and support your bill and give us a boost.
Well, I think the second thing is they don't really want to see a lot of their time cannibalized either. If we force them to spend more time paying attention to these issues when they don't think that's where the real benefit to the economy is, then we're going to have a perennial conflict.
Well, and that's why we've created the job over in Fish and Wildlife. That'll be the person's job. Now, that person will work hopefully very closely with the Tourism Commission.
We're almost done with the recap. These excerpts are from a show that aired a month ago about LD 668. Really, the make or break on this bill depends on how the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife really feels about it. Of course, every time we talk about forcing the department to do stuff, it's no wonder they hate this bill.
Well, yes. Yes. No, just generally, state agency people don't like to hear from George and Bob about what they're supposed to be doing.
Well, furthermore, it doesn't matter what the department is. So far, if this legislature forces a department to do something, the governor vetoes it.
Yes.
It's like anytime I say to I-F&W, you must do this bill's already dead.
Well, I'm counting on the governor liking you and not finding out this is my bill.
Yeah.
That'll be the end of it.
We laugh, but the first thing we have to do is wipe George Smith's fingerprints off this bill, or the governor will veto it. Not that I'm in any better favor with the governor, I'm just not in as much disfavor, as far as I know. Yeah, who can know? But we wrap the recap with the bottom line. This bill won't pass in the way it's written right now, so when it comes out of committee, what does victory look like?
I won't be happy unless we get the position established with a budget, just like we had 10 years ago. That, to me, is I can't think of anything short of that would accomplish much of anything. We really need a focus in our department with a budget and with some of these tasks and go out there and get a good marketing person.
Well, we're about out of time, but let's handicap the odds of the chances of this passing.
Remote.
Yeah. I was giving it maybe 5%.
But a lot of it's up to the industry. They need to come down and help us. They need to understand that this is a real chance, that this is a great bill. And I've been spreading the word and writing about it. I think we'll have some people there.
That's the quick recap of our predictions made on Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine, April 11th. My guest is George Smith. We're talking about LD 668, a bill that I have in front of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee that would establish a marketing position and plan at the department. I predict the odds of passage are about 5%. George says the odds are remote. We both think the governor would veto it anyway, but you never know how the sausage will get made. And in a moment, we can stop guessing. We'll go right to the actual hearing next, and we'll see if the sporting community did show up to support the bill, and we'll see who else did, and we'll see if the department really does hate it. This is Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. We're making sausage. Today, we're watching a law being made, or a bill being killed. We don't actually know yet. Our next stop is inside the Maine State House, inside the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee, which is about to hear LD 668. That's the bill I'm sponsoring for noted sports writer George Smith that would create a marketing position and plan at the department. Here's what happened. Representative Shaw and members of the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Committee, my name is Bob Duchesne, and I represent House District 121, which is Alton, Argyll, Corinth, Hudson, and Milford. And I'm pleased to present LD 668, an act to market Maine's hunting and fishing opportunities. Now, as many of the committee know, this is a George Smith bill, but I am not blameless. George and I are codependents on this one. We've both been nibbling away at the same problem for a long time, and I think it's the same problem that many committee members have been wrestling with as well. And we all sense that something is not right, that there's 1,000 suggestions of what to do about it, but I don't think any of us believes we're doing it exactly as well as it could be done. For 8 years, I've served in the governor's nature-based tourism task force, which explored how to best improve the economy through our natural assets. And I was really more on the non-consumptive end of things, but I got to understand just how all wildlife is interrelated and how it affects our economy, and how we're leaving a lot of money on the table, I think, in improving our economy. So I think, ultimately, the number one reason this bill is in front of you is because we have to raise our game. That includes the department, and that includes us, the legislature. We've got to improve ourselves. The Maine Office of Tourism is doing what it can with the limited resources that it has, and that means we have to step up and help the department to be a more marketing effective partner for the Maine Office of Tourism. I think we have to recognize the gaps and provide the guidance when possible and the resources when necessary. So I'm going to invite the department to up its game. I'm going to invite us to raise our game level as well. This bill asks you to establish a marketing program and position. Now, I need everyone to understand that promotion is not the same thing as marketing. It's not enough to create a promotional position in the department and give somebody the job of writing press releases. Promotion is just one component of marketing. Every business major learns the 4 Ps of marketing, which is product, place, price, and promotion. It's product development, proper pricing, exposure to people in a place where they can understand and acquire the product, plus promotion. Now, I want you to use this bill as a blank canvas to paint on. I mean, rewrite it, kill it, merge it into another bill, whatever you do. At the end of the day, I hope something comes out of this that looks more like a marketing program. And I'm not talking promotional program. I'm talking marketing. And when that program is established, I do hope it's staffed by a business major and not a biologist. There is some significant differences in the skill sets. Now, I'm going to leave you to paint the picture, but this bill does have some colors to paint with. So let's just go over a few of these things in the bill. As you look at the language, first of all, this bill isn't telling the Maine Office of Tourism to do anything. It's making sure the department has the capacity to be a partner to the office, somebody who can help the office market inland fisheries and wildlife in the state, and do its own niche marketing that is too specialized to be within the scope of what the tourism office does. Second is annual surveys. You've got to know your customers. Some of that happens now. I think some of it we may be able to do better, and that's going to take some exploration. C is training and education for persons in the outdoor recreation industry, including guides, persons who operate sporting camps, and others. I don't think there is anyone in the room who isn't saying, boy, that's a big job. D, recommendations to create new hunting and fishing licenses that feature new privileges or opportunities in order to attract non-resident hunters and anglers. That is marketing 101. Product, price, and promotion. E, aggressive promotion of opportunities to hunt and fish, including information about access to waters and public and private lands for their purposes. This information must be publicized without limitation in maps and brochures, on publicly accessible websites, and through social media. That one is all George's idea. That one needs work. F, creation of a database of outdoor writers and reporters, and efforts to provide these writers and reporters with experiences and information that may be used in their writings. Call it free media, call it earned media. It's media. Go get some. George will do it practically for free, and so will I. There's a bunch of, writers don't get paid squat. Use them. Some examples of product initiative. I was actually challenged on this at lunch yesterday saying, what are you talking about, Bob? And so last night I sort of sat down and said, well, registered Maine guides are a significant part of the Maine brand. What can the department do to package licenses with guide services? Sporting camps, same thing. Is there anything the department can do to package a product together with the assets we already have so that it can then be promoted, then be priced properly? We tried this with moose permits, but we ran out of moose. But it was a good idea. What can we do with turkeys? We get a lot of turkeys. Can we make a better product that will lure hunters from out of state to come take advantage of this resource and then price it adequately? Bass fishing. Why is bass fishing in Maine better than bass fishing in the South? Better scenery? Opportunity to bass fish around moose? Whatever it is, we are different than some of the states we're competing with. We have to understand that if we want to recapture that part, a sportsman part of the economy we used to have, we're going to have to kick the competition's butt. And that's going to take more than just writing a good press release. We're going to have to do some adequate product development and marketing. How does Inland Fisheries and Wildlife interact with moose watching safaris? This doesn't even have to be consumptive sporting activities. There are a lot of things out there that can be taken advantage of too, that Inland Fisheries and Wildlife already does with wildlife. Some of our endangered species, some of our interesting bird populations. A lot of those things are possible to package products around too, but you've got to actually think about doing it, and somebody's job has to depend on it. When IFW goes out to an out-of-state event with Maine Office of Tourism, how can our booth look different than the other states? How can we outcompete those guys? Or are we all going to have the exact same sort of display at these booths that everybody else does? Somebody's got to be thinking through that a little bit. I think the department probably is already leaning in that direction. You may hear that this bill is not necessary, that they're already planning to do some things. What I want you to do is think, are they planning to do exactly what we've always been doing but better? Or is this going to be a change where we're actually thinking in terms of marketing, building a different product and promoting it better? That's what I'm trying to instigate here, and it's a conversation I think this committee needs to have in conjunction with other bills, including Representative Shaw's bill that may be coming up. We've got to figure out how to market this better. So now with that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Are there any questions, Representative Duchesne? Yes, Representative Lightford.
Are you indicating we should hire a full-time marketing, promotional person for the department?
Yes, I am. I think this is going to take some focus. I think what happens a little bit too often, and it's not the department's fault, there's only limited resources, that the job of promotion is handed off to somebody who has additional responsibilities. And so we never focus on producing these products and promotional opportunities the way I think we could. And I think we used to. But like our outdoor heritage itself, it's sort of declined a little bit. And again, I think we need to raise our game.
Further questions from the committee? Yes, Representative Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Duchesne, in regards to funding for this position, I gather if this moves forward in some form or fashion, that a fiscal note will be attached, or someone at some point in time will ask, well, how's the department going to pay for this? Have you given this any thought?
I certainly did. I've had conversations with the department previously, and with George Smith. George, of course, will come up here and give you all kinds of suggestions about how to take from the department's own money where it's not being spent wisely. To me, this is something that should be funded either within department resources and within our budget. If it goes to the table with a fiscal note and dies, at least we tried. But I don't think it makes sense to take this away from the Maine Office of Tourism. I think some people would be sympathetic towards that. But they have their own mission, and really their target isn't necessarily the same one that I think we're focused on.
Yes, Representative Hilliard.
Thank you, Representative Shaw. In the business world, we'd call this a big, hairy, audacious goal. I like it. In regards to the position, are there any other states doing that now that you know of?
I didn't research how all of the states do it because it's really so different state by state. What I really looked at was at state websites saying, do they have things that they're marketing in some big, hairy, audacious way? And again, I pointed to like the Colorado website. I developed the Maine birding trail, and if you look at the Colorado birding website, it's really pretty, very well done. Florida does it well. Virginia sucks. Some states get it, some states don't.
Can you tell us what you really feel about Virginia?
The western part is okay, the eastern part I really have no use for. That actually went pretty well. There's the obvious question from Representative Danny Martin about how to fund all this. No surprise. In the last administration, Danny was the Commissioner of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, and he knows firsthand the funding challenges there. And I quickly got the sense that everyone in the room thought we could do a better marketing job. But, hold on. Let's see what the committee does to George Smith, the guy who instigated this bill. When we get back, George steps up to the mic. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine on Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. This is Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine. Saturday mornings at 9, Sunday mornings at 8 on Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket. Today, we're making sausage. We're watching a bill turn into a law, or turn into compost. LD 668 is a bill that would require the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife to create a marketing position and plan. We're actually in the State House, in the I&W Committee room, and in the hearing on the bill. I've just finished testifying, and now George Smith, noted sportsman, blogger, travel writer, and the guy behind this bill, takes the mic.
Representative Shaw and distinguished committee members, I am George Smith from Mount Vernon. 11 years ago, the management assistance team of the International Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies, as a result of legislation proposed by the Sportsmen's Alliance of Maine and enacted by the legislature, came to Maine to assess the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife and provide recommendations for improvements. In addition to lobbying for the bill, I helped raise the money that paid for the study. One section of the final report is titled Key Issue Marketing. Among the recommendations was this one. The entire agency could be improved by adopting a marketing approach in the way it does business. Approximately 1/3 of the state fish and wildlife agencies across the country are actively engaged in either learning how or already using a marketing approach, and the number is increasing. And this gets to Representative Hilliard's question, because the report continues. State fish and wildlife agencies in several states have already committed to developing agency-wide marketing approaches in an effort to make sure that all programs deliver the highest value to their customers. In these states, the agency leadership recognize that marketing is not an isolated function served by a single individual. Rather, all employees play an appropriate role in making sure their programs deliver the best marketing mix and highest value to customers, perhaps coordinated through a marketing specialist or a marketing team. Marketing is often misperceived in fish and wildlife agencies as commercialization, promotion, or sales. Any of these may play a part in whether to adopt a marketing approach or not, but ensuring that the agency is tied to customers' needs, price sensitivity, access, and awareness are all vital to a state fish and wildlife agency's long-term survival. For success, the marketing efforts cannot exist in a vacuum, but need to be infused into all department programs as an overall approach to doing business. I probably don't have to tell you that none of this was ever accomplished. Ironically, since these recommendations were received, the department abolished its marketing position and eliminated its marketing budget. This bill will reestablish that position and budget. Better late than never. The challenge of reversing a 60% decline in Maine non-resident hunters was tossed to a task force in 2011. The top 5 recommendations were summarized for the legislature. The department must work cooperatively with the Office of Tourism to develop a marketing plan promoting Maine as a destination for non-resident hunters and in all areas of outdoor recreation. 2, funding should be allocated to survey current and recently lapsed non-resident hunters using a qualified market research firm specializing in natural resource and outdoor recreation issues to find out what these customers want, why they have lapsed, and what barriers there are for travel to Maine as a hunting destination. 3, based on the data generated from this market research, marketing tools, strategies, and training must be provided to Maine's hunting industry partners, including guides, outfitters, sporting camps, B&Bs, and other state agencies, such as the Office of Tourism and the Department of Conservation, to multiply the effect of the marketing plan. 4, new hunting licenses, repackaged licenses, or licenses that feature new privileges or opportunities appear to be one of the greatest factors with the potential to positively affect any kind of license sales. The legislature and the department must take a closer look at ways to accomplish and implement this initiative in a timely manner. And 5, Maine must do more to promote its lands open to hunting statewide and the ease of access to them. Paper collateral such as maps and brochures and online information that can be shared by state agency and hunting partners' website must be developed, distributed, and kept current. Shortly after this task force report was presented to the legislature, it was put on the shelf and forgotten. The Tourism Commission did hire a firm for a survey of non-resident hunters, and since I wrote my testimony, that survey was just posted online, and you can read it now. It's 128 pages. I really do hope you'll take the time to read it, because it justifies every bit of this bill. And in conclusion, the department may tell you that it recently assigned marketing to one of its staff members in the I&E division, but assigning marketing to someone who already has lots of tasks is a serious misreading of the 2004 recommendations. We need an experienced marketing professional who can not only work with the industry to market hunting and fishing in Maine, but also implement programs within the agency that engages all of the department's staff in the overall marketing effort and works outside the agency with those in the hunting and fishing industry, the Tourism Commission, and others. I hope the department will tell you about their new effort to hire a marketing and communications firm to help achieve some of these goals. It's a very good first step, but it's not the entire answer. And in fact, the agency will need its own marketing specialist to work with the firm it hires for this work. And I haven't been able to find out how much the agency plans to spend on that consulting contract, but perhaps they'll share that with you. I didn't hear it brought up in your budget work sessions. Please do not interpret my remarks to be a criticism of the Maine Tourism Commission and its very capable director, Carol Ann Willett. Carol Ann does a terrific job, but she needs the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife to engage more actively with her in the state's overall marketing effort. Earlier in the session, the Labor, Commerce, Research, and Economic Development Committee, just across the hall from you, unanimously killed a bill proposed by the Maine Professional Guides Association that would have directed some of the Tourism Commission's funding to advertising of hunting and fishing. We got clobbered by the tourism industry, the inns, restaurants, and others. We must realize we're not going to get their money. Have to do this ourselves, hopefully in the Fish and Wildlife Department. 13 sporting camps in Grand Lake Stream are for sale. And I'm writing a book right now on Maine sporting camps, and I tell you it's tragic. We've gone from over 300 to about 3 dozen, and many of them are in trouble. And then I know guides who have left the state when we lost the deer herd. You can go right through the industry. We're desperate. We are really desperate for something good to happen. Something like this would be a good start. I've spent my career supporting and helping the good people who work in Maine's hunting and fishing economy and watching sadly as their industry declined while other states did so much better in marketing their hunting and fishing opportunities. But I think this bill is going to be my personal last effort. I'm going to let you decide if Maine is ready and willing to work to save our dying hunting and fishing industries, our sporting camps, our guides, and all the businesses which depend on hunters and anglers. We were told by experts what needed to be done 11 years ago. I can only hope we're not too late.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We've all heard about the song, It's All About the Bass. Well, we can promote and move forward with the best ideas in the world, as you know, Mr. Smith, and it's all about the money. And like, you know, being somewhat familiar with some of this and fully support your concept and all that, and I think it's been long overdue. Where would you suggest the department find the funding for this? I've asked the question to the previous speaker.
Me, it's easy to say let's dip into the surplus. They're making more money every year than they spend. It's going into surplus. Maybe we could get it started with some money from the investment of the Life Member Fund. I mean, this, you know, is better than most of us that there are ways to get it. I just think it's a higher priority than a lot of things that are actually being done right now. If we can't get more customers for this agency, they're going to continue to decline. Our industries are going to continue to decline. As I look at an overall budget and all the things they're doing, this would be right at the top for me. So I don't think it's our obligation to say just take it from here or grab it from there. I think you need to tell the agency this is critically important. How are you going to fund it? You know, when they like bills, they absorb the cost. You know that.
Well, I guess my question to you is, do you have any idea what you think it would take to get a position and what it would cost to promote what these recommendations were back in the last study to move this forward?
I think Don Kleiner is going to testify, and you might want to re-ask that question, because when he was leader of the I&E division, I think he told me the budget was about $130,000 a year, including the position. I think that would be a good place to start. The position is important to work with all the other elements of tourism and travel, and to start working inside the department to make everybody understand what we learned 11 years ago in terms of everybody's customer service is important for all the employees. So you could start with $130,000, $150,000 and get this all started. Yeah. I would like to say this in response to that question, though, is that some of you know that my wife and I have become travel writers. This is our 5th year, and I have found it remarkably different in the inns and restaurants and that part of the tourism business as opposed to the part of the business that I really care about, hunting and fishing. The folks over on this side are very well organized. They're spending $9 million a year marketing tourism. They work together. Over here, we're disjointed, not working together. We have no money. It's just really sad to see. And if we could just get started someplace to get back to where we were 11 or 12 years ago, that would be a good start.
You're listening to Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine. That was George Smith testifying in a bill to create a marketing position and plan at the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. You may remember that George and I predicted the Inland Fisheries and Wildlife Department would oppose this bill, and that will be revealed in just a few minutes. Next, though, the turnout in support of the bill was pretty strong. Even I was surprised to see who turned out at the hearing. This is Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. This is Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket, with Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine. This is how sausage is made. There's not really so much magic to it, but legislators get together and bat around an idea until maybe it becomes law and maybe it doesn't. The bill is LD 668, an act to create a marketing position and plan at the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. Up next, the Executive Director of the Maine Professional Guides Association, Don Kleiner.
Good afternoon, Senator Davis, Representative Shaw, distinguished members of the Fish and Wildlife Committee. I'm Don Kleiner. I still live in Union. I represent the 1,100 members of the Maine Professional Guides Association. You have written testimony from me, which I worked on a little bit this morning. I think there are some important points that you need to be cognizant of. First of all, this is a significant impact on our economy. It is particularly significant because it's based in the rural parts of our state. They're the areas that need the most help. They're the ones that have the resources. That's where the opportunity is. If you ask Don Kleiner about his vision for the future, he would say the state of Maine has made significant gains in terms of what we've set aside for the future. I'm sort of proud of that over the length of my career, even though I had a very small part. What does the future look like? We have this tremendous resource. We need to figure out how to make money from it. In my world, because I have a narrow view, I think guides are a big part of that. That's where the money is going to get made, at least in my vision. We need to help that. Now, I heard someone ask a question about other states doing this. Pennsylvania has recently embarked, I was at the Northeast Fish and Wildlife Conference a year ago. Pennsylvania's embarked on a program that I would call remarkable among state agencies. And so remarkable and revolutionary, I'd be willing to bet a year later that individual's gone, because state agencies can't tolerate that level of marketing savvy. The other point that I would make here very strongly is when we talk about marketing, our minds immediately go to advertising and promotion. And that's not what we're talking about here. It's about customer service. It's about how do I think about the business I'm in? How do I interact with people day in and day out? I mentioned that I sell, as one of the things I've done in my business, one of the friction points was people needed to buy licenses. And going to Walmart is a pain when you're on vacation. I'm a license agent. I include licenses in the cost of my trip. Not even a conversation point. So where does that leave us? We all feel strongly that the conservation of our resources is critical, and the Fish and Wildlife Agency has a key role to play there. The only way we're going to increase their budget is to sell more licenses. It's the name of the game. So what we have now is a small business within state government to do something. Their profit is going to do a goal that we all agree is important. We need to begin to move in that direction and stop waiting for something else to come and save us. We need to save ourselves. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Representative Wood.
Thank you, Representative Shaw. Can you speak to the fact that Quebec and Ontario and New Brunswick all supplement their guides to go to sportsman shows to bring people back to their provinces and stuff?
Actually, through the course of my career, I have always marveled at how those provinces view their outfitters as a key part of their economic promotion. And I don't know about today because I haven't had any recent conversations, but I know outfitters personally from New Brunswick who actually made money attending the shows in the winter that cost me several thousand out of pocket. Their province said, we want you at the show, we'll pay the expenses, we'll cover the hotel bill, and we'll pay meals up to this rate. I don't even dream of getting to that place, Representative. But that's just a different mindset that says we have these resources, we have these assets, how do we make money from those assets? And the Canadians have been there for, I don't often give up how old I am, but about 35 years. They're well ahead of us.
The committee turned out to have a lot of questions for Don Kleiner, maybe another 20 minutes worth. Then, when he was done, more public testimony in support of the bill followed, including backing from Maine Audubon and the Nature Conservancy, two groups you might not necessarily expect to support our hook and bullet economy, but they do, and they did. But let's cut to the chase. So far, there has been no opposition to this bill. How will the department itself testify, in support or in opposition?
Good afternoon, Senator Davis and members of the committee. My name is Crystal Terrio. I'm the Assistant to the Commissioner at Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. I'm speaking for the department in opposition to LD 668. I'm not going to reiterate what this bill aims to do, but go over a little bit of what the department is currently doing. We are in the middle of reviewing proposals from a number of vendors, and we're expecting to award a contract in the next few weeks to develop a communications, marketing, and public relations plan that will be delivered by November of this year. The plan will be implemented by a committee of department staff with representation from each bureau and division within the agency. The plan should serve as a roadmap for the department to identify the needs of the public and our customers in order to develop a marketing strategy, as well as a new program and initiatives that meet those needs. Currently, the Division of Information Education partners with the Department of Economic and Community Development, Office of Tourism, to attend a number of hunting, fishing, and outdoor-related trade shows throughout the Northeast, as many of the people that just testified explained. IF&W also puts out information on a regular basis through a number of successful social media channels, gov delivery, email distribution, blogs, and in press releases. So it isn't necessarily that we don't agree with many of the proposals within this bill, but as you can see, many of the initiatives outlined are already being done by the department.
And right about there, things took a bit of a turn. Currently, the Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife is testifying against my bill, which would establish a marketing position and plan at the department. In a moment, Judy Camuso will take over for the department. Now, I've known Judy for, decades. This is going to get interesting. Then, the shocking conclusion, or maybe non-conclusion, to LD 668, when Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine returns on Sports Radio 92.9, The Ticket. Welcome back to Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine. Here is the situation. I'm sponsoring a bill in this year's Maine legislature that would require the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife to establish a marketing position and plan, just like they used to have. We're in the public hearing right now. I've testified. A line of supporters has testified. Only one opponent is speaking up, and that is the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. But as Wildlife Division Director Judy Camuso is explaining, that's because they're already doing it, or something like it. Or anyway, they don't have the money.
So the RFP that we put out is basically to develop a strategic plan for communication for the department. So it will include general communication, marketing, as well as promotion. So we will be looking to hire a firm to help us assess, do we need to be going to 2 shows, 5 shows, 10 shows? Do we need to be advertising in newspapers, magazines, paid television ads, newspaper ads? We don't have that expertise currently on staff, so we'll be looking to a firm to help us establish that roadmap. In addition, we'll be looking to just come up with ways to promote the department's program so that both the consumptive and the non-consumptive users understand what their state agency does, what programs we work on, and how it benefits them. How does it, as me living in Freeport, what does IFW do for me? What do our state agency and our state biologists do for the general public? As far as measurable goals, one of the things we will first do is a survey of the general public and ask some very targeted questions about our programs, our mission, what the public wants from us. That'll be to the general public, and some of those will be for targeted special interest groups as well. So we will do some initial surveys, and my vision is that we will do follow-up surveys probably on a every 2 to 3 year basis to sort of track how we're doing. I don't know if that addresses some of your questions.
But as the committee questions begin, is what the department plans to do the same things as what the bill says they should do? Representative Patrick Corey begins.
You know, for me, that sounds like more sort of a branding, do you know what I mean, effort, do you know what I mean, as opposed to something that, you know, directly relates to sort of industry, do you know what I mean, and then dollars and cents. And that's, I mean, I think that what these guys are talking about probably has more to do with, you know, industry marketing and everything else, and what it sounds like you're talking about is more sort of related to the department. Do you know what I mean? No,
it's not. It won't be related to the department. It'll be very targeted for promoting hunting. It will be targeted to promote fishing. It will be targeted to promote trapping, so that people of the state of Maine understand what resources we have, how we as a state agency are managing them, but basically how those programs benefit everyone. So we will be looking to improve participation in those programs, as well as have the general public understand what those programs are and why they're important to the citizens of the state of Maine. So my vision for, and you know, we've just put out the RFP, so we don't have any, or we just received the bids, but we don't have any of the sort of deliverables in hand yet. But there will be certainly specific goals, you know, with the number of advertisements we place, where we place those advertisements.
And that's the way it went for another 15 minutes. Representative Danny Martin once again brought up the money issue because really we don't fund the department like we're supposed to. In 2001, the legislature actually passed a law requiring 18% of the department's budget to be paid from the general fund. But the legislature can choose to ignore the law in any given budget year and, in fact, never has followed the law because it's all about the Franklins, and we don't have enough of them. Still, there's one more piece of the sausage. After a hearing is completed, the committee schedules a work session. The work session on this bill was scheduled for May 5th. This was the day of 3 other hearings that went first. Really strange hearings on exotic pets in Maine. What's legal, what's not, etc. It's the first hearing I've ever attended where the words Gaboon Viper were mentioned. So I sat for 3 hours waiting for the work session that was scheduled for 2 p.m. After 3 hours of exotic pets, my turn finally came, and this is what happened.
We are going to open LD 668. I will mention right up front that we're probably not going to be voting on that one today because we do want to work that a little bit further. I know there's some other ideas, and some of the members aren't here to help us work it. So Representative Corey, I believe, had some questions about it. So, yep, go ahead.
I don't necessarily have any questions about it, but I did start reading the documents, and then I started reading the RFP amendments that were done April 10th. 2015, and I'm still sorting between the two documents. So I'd just like to see if we could I could make a motion to table this until
We have a motion to table. Seconded by Senator Searway. All those in favor of tabling LD 668? Unanimous.
And so, that's it. 3 hours of waiting, 3 hours of Gaboon Vipers, and then nothing. And that's normal. Laws are like sausages. It is better not to see them being made. All legislatures are chaotic. All the easy decisions were made a long time ago, and there's never enough money, so figure out how to prioritize and realize that priorities compete. At this point, the next work session has not been scheduled, and who knows what will happen. Everyone knows we need to do better, but it's all about the Franklins. Stay tuned. If anything ever happens on this bill, I'll fill you in. No matter what, it won't end the discussion. But this show has ended, so thanks for listening. Remember, this show and previous shows are on the web at 929theticket.com. Bob Duchesne's Wild Maine is brought to you by Hammond Lumber, Dice Arts, EBS, Doors Equipment, and Napa Auto Parts. Join me again next Saturday morning at 9 or Sunday morning at 8. This is Sports Radio 92.9 The Ticket.